feet above.
Herkese merhaba, iyi akşamlar. Bugün yine EskiYeni'nin alt katındayız. Bu sefer konuğumuz yurt dışından. Konuğumuz Brazzaville. Birazdan bir saat kadar sonra üst katta konser verecekler. Şu anda yanımda grubun kurucusu ve aynı zamanda solistliğini yapan David Brown bulunuyor. David Brown'la kısa bir yarım saatlik bir söyleşi yapacağız. Bu tabii uzayabilir 45 dakikaya ama siz de sorularınızı bize canlı yayın ekranından, oradaki sağ tarafta göreceğiniz chat ekranından, aynı zamanda Twitter'da 40 kişi hashtag ile, aynı zamanda da Facebook'ta 40 kişi ve EskiYeni Facebook sayfaları üzerinden gönderebilirsiniz. Hi David.
Hello.
This is your second time in Ankara, right? Playing.
No, I've played here a few times. I mean, it's my second time at EskiYeni, but I've played. I played a couple other places as well in the past.
So, but I think we should start with Istanbul.
Okay.
If it is about you.
Sure.
Where does this love for Turkey or Istanbul comes from for you?
Well, I mean, I never planned to come to Turkey, you know, but I think life has a path for all of us, you know, like kind of like when you throw a rock down a hill, it seems like it's randomly going down that hill, but there's really only one way that it can go, depending on how it's thrown, you know. So for me, I never planned on going to Turkey or to Russia, but those are the two places where Brazzaville is the most popular. So I spend a lot of time in both countries, and I'm very grateful because I really like both those places, you know. And I toured many of the normal, sort of ordinary countries for many years with Beck and other bands. So I feel lucky to be able to come to more interesting spots now. Do you have to translate? Should I speak in short phrases?
No, we will not translate it live, but we will
Okay.
translate it and put subtitles in
Cool.
the video we will produce.
Okay.
So the live broadcasting is without any translation or subtitle.
Tamam.
But if you speak enough Turkish, maybe we can continue
I
in
think
Turkish.
I have about 7 words.
What are they?
I learned a new one. Umut, hope, right? Deniz, Karadeniz, Akdeniz, canımsın, kızımsın, kız.
Very strategic words.
I think
right?
I think that's it. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Specifically about Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
About the city, about the streets of Istanbul, about the view of Istanbul. I think it has something to add to your music.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it's one of the most poetic cities I've ever visited. The sound of the seagulls, the sound of the boats, the sound of the call to prayer, you know, the Hazan, what do you call it?
Hazan.
Hazan. The sound of the traffic, even the life, it's bubbling with activity and with life, and it's, I think, had an immense effect on me creatively. I really, really love it as a city.
Yeah. And you have an album named as Brazzaville in Istanbul.
Yeah.
About the story of that album, how that project started.
Well, this guy Dennis Julian from that band Portico had an idea to do a album of Brazzaville songs with Turkish musicians produced in Turkey. So yeah, that's what we did. I think it was in 2009. I stayed here for a couple weeks with this guy Ali Riza, and we went to the studio every day, and I did all my vocal parts and my guitar parts, and then they recorded most of the Turkish stuff when I wasn't there, you know, when I had already gone back to Barcelona.
Yeah. And Ankara. There, in Turkey, I don't know whether if you know about it, but there is a competition between Istanbul and Ankara.
Yeah, so every country has that. Barcelona, Madrid, LA, New York.
playing in Ankara, how the concerts in Ankara, how the audience in Ankara differs from the Istanbul concerts?
Well, I mean, honestly, I'm not trying to be diplomatic, but they're both they're great, you know. I mean, I remember the last time we played here was really fun show, super fun show. And we played last night in Istanbul, and it was just great. It was such a... When the crowd is like that, it gives us energy. Like, I feel more awake and filled with energy after the show than even before, you know.
Do you remember your first concert in Turkey?
Yeah, of
When
course.
was that?
It was in 2005 in Babylon. It was for the festival, the Istanbul Jazz Festival. And it was really fun. You know, we played 3 times there that week, in 1 week. We did 2 shows, and then another band, they got ill or something, so they asked if we'd play another show, and we played another show. And we played in Izmir. Yeah, it was fun.
Was it surprising for you to see that such a audience, such an interest in your music here?
Yeah, I'm always surprised by that. You know, I don't really understand how it works. I just feel very grateful, you know. Anytime I play a show and people come to the show, I feel very grateful, because there's so many other things you could do on any given night, you know. Stay home and watch TV, or go on Facebook, or just, I don't know. So the fact that people come out to a concert, it says a lot, you know.
But do you listen to some Turkish musicians? Are there some specific names?
You know, honestly, I don't really listen to music very much in general. I like to read a lot, and I like cooking and swimming. And sometimes I listen to music, but not that much, not as much as you'd think, because I'm surrounded by music all the time. You know, I play it, record it, rehearse it. And Turkish musicians, I mean, I've heard lots of great stuff. The problem for me is Turkish names are so difficult to remember, and I have such a terrible memory that I forget the names of these guys, you know.
Yeah. About your dialogue with the audience.
Yeah.
In your website, you have an announcement that your website will be in Turkish and Chinese as well.
And Russian.
And Russian.
Yeah.
So you pay a lot of importance to dialogue with your audience in their own language even. So what is the role of this dialogue with your audience in the concerts and in internet, social media?
Well, I mean, I think that the beauty of live performance as opposed to recorded performance is that it's different every time, you know, and that makes it interesting, you know. Some nights things go one way, some nights they go another way. We never have the same set list twice generally. We just write it before each show, and then even if we have a set list, it doesn't mean we're going to stick to it. I ask people what they want to hear and we play it. And you know, a concert's a great opportunity to forget your troubles and to forget the day-to-day cares of the world, you know, and just enjoy yourself, laugh, sing, dance a little bit. And so I just try to create an atmosphere of that, of where I'm having fun, and if I'm having fun, they'll be having fun usually, you know.
You have a Twitter account, right?
What?
You have a Twitter account, right? It is not a fake account in Twitter. You are on Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. Yeah. But I'm the worst tweeter ever. I forget. I think I do something once every 2 weeks or so. I don't really... I'm not one of those people that thinks that every thought I have is that interesting, you know? Like some people put, I'm hungry. And I think, who gives a shit if I'm hungry, you know? Or I'm on my way to the market. So what, you know? So I only send things on Twitter if I think it's relevant to people, like, you know.
Again, about your concerts, you prefer not to play in some large venues, but instead you prefer to play in some small and dark, let's say, like that, and mysterious places. What is the reason behind this? And even house concerts.
Well, no, I mean, I like all, most, I won't say all. I'm not a big fan of festivals, like, especially if they're in the daytime. To me, that's kind of the worst place to play. But I like clubs, I like concert halls, I like house concerts, because they're all unique in their own way, you know. Like, a club show has a special energy, because it's kind of loud and it's small and dark and it has an excitement to it. A house concert has a real intimacy, because it's like you're in a friend's living room, you know, and there's a kitchen. Usually we play and then they take a break and then people go and get snacks and come back and have tea, and it's very cozy atmosphere. But then sometimes quite large shows have their own special energy as well, you know.
What is the largest number of audience you played with?
Maybe like 3,000 people.
Where was that?
That was in a very strange place. It was in Tashkent, in Uzbekistan. It was one of the most magical shows I've ever played. Big center, I don't know what you call it, like a kind of a small arena. And when we strange police everywhere. The people were all in the seats, and there was this open space in front of us, just flat. And I said, come on down, you know, come on. And they, first one person came, then some more, then they all came down up to the stage. And you could see the police were getting nervous. They didn't like this. But it ended up being such an amazingly fun show. And we had some local man who played percussion with us, and it's really great.
And it was a mixture of Russian and Turkish culture, actually.
Uzbekistan, yeah. Well, the original Turks came from Central Asia, didn't they? I've heard.
Yeah.
It came to Anatolia from there.
Let's see. You are living in Barcelona, right?
Yes.
And you are traveling a lot, I think.
Yes.
About this relationship between the cities and the places you see and your music. Except from Istanbul, of course. The other places.
Yeah.
How they are important for you? Barcelona, for example.
Well, I mean, Barcelona is where I live, so that's just kind of, you know, I have a pretty mundane but wonderful existence there. I have my studio, my family. I swim in the mornings, and I go to my studio, and I cook dinner and, you know, ride my bike around. I think I'm probably more inspired when I'm on the road in other cities. I mean, every place has its character and is full of people, and people all have a story. You always hear great stories, you know, and you never know where a kernel of inspiration will come from, because that's the one thing that's absolutely essential to writing songs or anything, is some inspiration. Because writing a song is easy. Anybody who plays an instrument can write a song in 5 minutes, but it doesn't mean it will be good. I think to be good, it must have some bit of inspiration. And all inspiration, I think, comes from the same place. It's from this, it's the place that our souls come from. So we recognize it. When we hear it or see it in a painting or in music, something in our souls recognize it. And you can't fake it, you know? So you never know where it's going to come, and there's no formula to make it come. That's why I think it's important to daydream, to just stare off into the distance, let your mind be quiet. And the the sad thing about all of our devices nowadays is we don't have much time for daydreaming because we're always occupied. Our attention is always, we're never bored, you know? And I think boredom and daydreaming is a really good thing for the creative process.
Yeah. About this actual inspiration issue, as you know, there are some internet radios and there are some moods there. You can choose your mood there and it provides music and songs for you in accordance with your mood. Let's ask you that, how can you match your music, Brazzaville's music, with those moods? Can you name some of them? For example, there are some raining, Sunday morning, doing laundry.
I like all of those.
So which one is best suiting for you among these, or
those are all good.
Other ones?
Making pancakes, being up in the middle of the night when everyone's asleep, you know, hearing the first mockingbirds of the spring, or sitting alone on a rooftop in the middle of the city at dawn, being next to the beach late at night or early in the morning. There's many endless ones, I think. Taking a long trip by car, maybe in the desert in the United States. I could go on forever.
There are some questions from the internet, and one of them is a classical one. How did you start making music?
Well, the truth is, I never did anything the correct way. You know, I never learned about writing or about music the standard way. I decided already when I was already like 18, and I decided I wanted to play saxophone. And I was living in San Francisco, and I had a job washing dishes at a restaurant. And I saved up money to buy this old saxophone. And then there was a little weird kind of church, black kind of hippie church in San Francisco. I was living there at the time, called the One Mind Temple African Orthodox Church. And it was, their patron saint was John Coltrane. And they gave free saxophone lessons. So I went there and I took a lesson with this guy named Blue Water. And then I also, my aunt worked with a avant-garde saxophone quartet called Rova. She sort of took them on tours and stuff. And one of the guys, John Raskin, gave me a lesson. And then when I moved back down to LA, I enrolled at Los Angeles City College and started learning there. But most of what I learned was just from other musicians and just playing, you know. And same with guitar. I bought it on a tour when I was playing with Beck. Actually in Barcelona, I bought my first guitar. And Smokey, the guitar player, showed me some chords like for some Brazilian songs. We both listened to lots of Brazilian music. And I just started playing it. And I think it's important to learn the fundamentals of things, of music, chords, but the real thing is to just try to, if you have something to say, it will come out, you know, and it will find its own way in the world if it's meant to, you know.
And that guitar you bought in Barcelona, is it the same guitar that you are playing here?
No. It was a little miniature guitar. This one is...
How old is it?
This one, it's very old. It was very old when I found it. Not very old, but pretty old for a guitar. I found it in Japan, in southern Japan, in the city Fukuoka. It was kind of a mystical experience where I was walking down the street with my wife, down a small street, and we passed a doorway that just looked like the door to a house. But I stopped and looked, and it was quite dark inside, and I realized it was some kind of shop, like a second-hand shop, with old tables and lamps and chairs. And we walked in, and there was a very old man, and there were two guitars on the wall, and one of them was my guitar, and it had some strange writing on it. And I bought it for like $30 from him, and it's been my guitar ever since.
great story, actually. One more question from the internet. How do you describe your music? Its genre of it?
It's hard for me. You know, people of course inevitably ask that, but I don't ever really have like a good answer. I don't think. I honestly, I just don't even know what to say usually. I just say it's kind of romantic, melancholy pop music, I guess. You know, because genres are difficult. Like, how would you describe David Bowie or The Clash? Or, you know, you can come up with a million adjectives, but really they're just their own thing, really. You know, he just sounds like him. I mean, it's all pop music. It all has verses and choruses and, you know.
You played with so many different musicians, both in Brazzaville and with other bands or other musicians. Who was the most influential one for you?
That's a good question. Well, I think there are different ones. There have been many. Beck was a big influence, not musically, but just because when I started playing with him, I had gotten very into jazz. I just only listened to jazz, and I was very narrow-minded, like, this is real music, and the rest of that is just shit, you know? And then I went out on the road with him, and there were so many interesting bands we were playing with, like Morphine and different groups. I thought, wow, there's a lot of really cool, interesting stuff going on, and that's when I got the idea to form Brazzaville, because I used to write a lot of poetry when I was a teenager, and then I started playing music with playing sax, and I thought maybe I should try to form a band and write songs with lyrics. But I didn't even know how to do that. I was just learning as I went along, you know.
So I think that's it for this night. So
Great.
Thank you very much for your attendance in our interview.
It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you very much again.
Yeah.
Bu akşam da EskiYeni'nin alt katında Brazzaville'in solisti David Brown'la sohbetimizin sonuna geldik. Hala şansı olanlar bir saat, yarım saat, bir saat sonra üst katta Brazzaville dinleme şansına erişebilirler. EskiYeni'de bir saate kadar konser başlayacak. İsteyenleri üst kata davet ediyoruz. İyi akşamlar.